Hey everyone, Liz here from the Nail Hub, and I wanted to talk today about primers and bonders and all of the different things that you're probably coming across. Maybe you're overusing them, and I wanted to explain a little bit more about how they work. I have done a video in the past about this, but I still get this question so much that I thought it warranted another check-in on it. So I have been thinking about some creative ways to demonstrate this, and I think I came up with a really good visual for a lot of you to understand what's going on and why you might be having lifting even though you're using things like pH bonders, protein bonders, primers, any of that stuff. This might be a good visual for you. Okay, so I've got some command strips here actually, and let me just zoom out and see if I can get this to focus on this guy. So when we talk about the natural nail plate, our natural nail plate is made up of layers of keratin, which is a type of protein. That's a reason why a lot of the time you'll see something called protein bond or protein bonders. It's because it's a product that's supposed to help to bond to protein like keratin. So when we start out with our natural nail is actually fairly smooth. It is layers. It looks like baklava, so in my opinion, it looks like that. It looks like phyllo dough, where it's got lots of little layers of material that build up. But on the top of it, even though microscopically it's not actually perfectly smooth, it is smooth, and that's why we etch the nail plate with a nail file before we apply artificial nail product. So I grabbed this command strip because it kind of gives you an idea of rough texture. If we were looking at the nail plate after we've etched the surface of it with a nail file, this is kind of what you would expect, where you're creating texture on the surface of the nail so that product can actually grip onto it, much like a command strip. So command strips are the things you can use to hang paintings. These ones actually clip together like Velcro. So if I put these together, the idea is that they kind of grip together like this. So we can kind of get the idea that the gel that we put or the acrylic we put or whatever product we're putting on top of the nail, we want it to kind of grip onto that texture of our nail, and now we've got great adhesion. That's the goal. So something like a pH bonder is not going to actually get in there and grip to the individual texture in our nail plate. What a pH bonder is going to do is it's going to actually change the surface pH of the nail to better match the product that we're going to put on top, okay? So whatever that base coat might be or that next product might be, it's just going to change the actual chemical surface so that the pH is more similar to the next product we're going to put on it. That's why pH bonders are really important to not mix and match between brands, because the pH of the next product might not actually be the same as what's intended if you're mixing and matching. So if you're using something like a pH bonder, make sure you're using the pH bonder that goes with your base coat or your builder gel or whatever product you're going to put right on top of the natural nail. Make sure that that pH bonder is from the exact same system and the exact same brand that you're using, because they're chemically formulated to work together. Now, protein bonders and other types of primers like non-acid primers, those are a little bit more universal, because what they do is they take ethyl acetate, usually is the first ingredient in them. Ethyl acetate is a type of solvent, and then we dissolve a monomer in that solvent so that we get this kind of really sticky air drying type of monomer situation. And the idea with something like a primer or a protein bonder is that we're creating a very sticky surface. So it's not going to chemically change the pH of the nail plate necessarily. What it's going to do is it's going to air dry, that solvent's going to air dry, and it's going to leave a monomer residue on your nail. And monomer is the key component in our nail products. So it's going to basically be a super sticky residue of monomer that then is going to bond with the actual monomers in the product that you're going to apply. That's the idea behind them. Now, if we overuse protein bonders or other types of primers, the challenge is that we risk filling in that texture too much, okay? So because we're dealing with a dissolved monomer, we can actually overdo it. So you can see what I did is I put lots and lots of air dry product in here, and you can see that it's kind of shiny. But if I just tip this command strip ever so slightly, you can see that it kind of starts to fill in the texture that I've got on that natural nail plate. So all of that etching I did with my nail file, if I put too much protein bond or if I put too much of that primer, it's going to actually create almost like too much of a residue, too much of a barrier. And the only thing that my gel is going to be able to adhere to is that. So if I try to push these teeth in there, you can see I can't, right? Because I've got too much blocking. So I'm not really creating adhesion, where if I just did a very, very thin layer of it that just created almost like a teeny tiny coating on the texture of that nail, I would still be able to get that gel to grip that textured nail, and I would also be increasing the adhesion by making sure that it's extra, extra, extra sticky. If I put too much, I can't do that. It's just going to be adhering to the sticky layer, and that's why we can also have lifting even though we have used a primer. Okay, so on the other side of this command strip, I did put some of that same primer. You can see like a little bit of residue here. So instead of literally dousing the nail plate in primer, just use it extremely sparingly. What that's going to do is it's going to coat the nail without removing the texture. It's still going to be able to adhere to whatever that next product is. And again, I'm just using command strips to give you like a visual, but see how I can get those teeth in there? I can get that grip. I'm still going to get extra, extra sticky grip, but I'm going to get grip to the actual nail plate surface. I'm not going to have this situation where I have filled the nail plate with so much residue that now the only thing keeping those two things together is in fact that residue itself. So I hope this gives you a good visual for how primers and bonders work. Again, pH bonders are going to be something that kind of chemically change the surface of your nail plate to match the pH of the product you're going to put next. Dehydrators are going to dehydrate the nail. They're going to strip oil. They're going to strip moisture to really make an optimally dry surface for you to put product on top of. Protein bonders and any type of non-acid primers, I would say, are the most popular type of bonders you're going to come across. And those are the kind that are going to leave a residue on your nail, a very sticky, almost double-sided tape type of idea. But if we overuse them, we're going to basically flood all of that texture, and our nail product is just going to be relying on that sticky residue to adhere. And I know a lot of you are probably wondering, hey, I'm using a dehydrator, I'm using a pH bonder, and I'm also using a non-acid primer or a protein bonder. Sometimes it's overkill. And if your system that you're using, you're mixing and matching all three of those things, you're really dabbling in an area where none of those products were really meant to work together. You're probably putting way too much stuff on top of the nail plate. And you also need to consider that the base coat or whatever base gel or whatever you're using may already have all of the adhesion ingredients that you need. So less is more. Start with less. Try just using the system the way it was intended. Use things sparingly. And then if that's still not working, troubleshoot just individual components of the service instead of adding on all of these priming products and bonding products that might ultimately be sabotaging the entire service. I hope this helps, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.